All right. Well, good morning, everyone. It is June 13th. We are here for the MSL Learn webinar series. And this week we are so excited because we are going to be learning more about the Montana History Portal. And so with that, just a reminder that I'm Colette Bartow, Continuing Ed Coordinator with the State Library. And we are so pleased to be joined by Dave Colamaria, who is the digital historian and archivist and specialist for the Montana History Portal. Our agenda is all about the History Portal. And just as a reminder, we host these sessions 30 minutes every second Tuesday and every last Tuesday to learn a little bit more about the programs, services, and cool things happening at the State Library. So with that, Dave, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. So today I'd like to talk to you again about the Montana History Portal, which is a program of the State Library. For those of you who aren't familiar with us, what exactly is the Montana History Portal? First of all, let me say that until a few months ago, we were called the Montana Memory Project, a name that might be a bit more familiar to some of you. We've rebranded our name and website, and today I'd like to talk to you about our purpose, our programs, and how it can help you in your own library. You can see the tagline here on this slide that broadly describes us. The Montana History Portal is a free online hub for Montana cultural institutions to share their collections with the public. Our collections are history-based, covering every topic you can possibly imagine. If you visit our website, you'll see a wide-ranging collection of material from institutions all over the state of Montana. We have over 2,400 yearbooks dating back to the early 20th century. We have tens of thousands of pages of historic livestock brands. We have hundreds of digitized books. We have oral histories and audio and video recordings. And our most substantial asset, we have 40,000 photos documenting the history of our great state. Today, I'd like to talk to you about two ways that the History Portal can benefit you. First, it can be a great resource for your library patrons as a research tool. And second, it can serve as a free hosting platform for content from your organization that you want to bring to a large worldwide audience. Let's get a bit more specific and talk about how we go about aggregating all this content. To date, we have partnered with 93 organizations around the state to consolidate content on our central hub. This includes libraries, museums, federal, state, and local agencies, and even private corporations. Some of these organizations are large, such as the National Park Service or Montana Historical Society. Others are small, including volunteer-operated museums and small-town libraries. One of the great things about the History Portal is that it levels all organizations, no matter the size, and shows that everyone's content is of equal importance to preserving the history of Montana. So that's the who part of the equation. Let's talk a little bit about exactly what we do with these organizations. The crux of the program is digitization of physical collections from an institution. This could be a photo collection, a set of yearbooks, letters, diaries, virtually anything of historical importance. We work with the organization to determine what meets the criteria. We provide guidelines on digitization, and in many cases help organizations find funding for their projects through grants. We step them through the creation of a metadata spreadsheet with an entry for each item in the collection. We provide them with a shared server space to upload the collections in the spreadsheet, and that's it, they're done. We at the History Portal handle the upload process to the website. You can see here just how many items we have steered through this process. 200 collections numbering over 84,000 items. The last part of the process is something that we at the History Portal handle, and that is promotion of this content. We do this in several ways. At the most basic level, it is available online on the website for free. We do a lot of work ensuring that it is searchable and easy to find on Google. We do daily social media posts. We create digital exhibits. We do a weekly digital newsletter. We have recently started building local tours using a free app, and we do fun stuff like contests. I'll talk more about all of those in a bit. So why do we run this program, and who does it benefit? We believe it benefits both the end users, in other words, the public, and the institutions that share their collections. For the public, we are providing a one-stop search portal with access to over 150 years of Montana history. There is no paywall and no catch. It's free to use. And while login is not required to use the content on the website, we do provide users with the option to create an account, to do things like organize and save content, and even to interact with the content. It's also really helpful to researchers to be able to see content from so many organizations in one place. As an example, let's say someone is trying to reach a family member, or I'm sorry, research a family member. They may know that the Historical Society is a great place to look for information. But on the history portal, they may see Historical Society records alongside photos of that relative from a yearbook, or perhaps even an audio interview. We've actually had a case where someone found an oral history of a relative whose voice they'd never heard before, which is pretty neat. For institutions, we provide quite a few benefits. Their presence on the history portal puts them alongside virtually all of the leading history organizations in the state and acts as a great way to promote the organization. We help many organizations find ways to apply for grants for digitization, and we have documentation on standards and best practices for digitization. A big benefit, particularly to smaller organizations, is that we provide free hosting of content. For a small organization, digitization of content is only half the problem. Web hosting of large collections of high-resolution imagery, PDFs, audio, video, this can be expensive and complicated. We take care of that so that you don't have to ask your IT manager to build a custom site or process to host this content. We also provide a digital backup of all hosted content on our MSL servers. This is again a space and IT issue, particularly for smaller organizations. If your server fails or the portable hard drive with the scans gets lost, we've got you covered. And lastly, we work hard to promote both the content and the organizations that provide it through a variety of programs I will talk about today. Let's talk about how the history portal can benefit you and your organization. There are two aspects to this. First is how you can help your library patrons find information they need. And the second is by choosing to become a contributor to the history portal. With over 84,000 items on the site, the history portal can be a great resource for your patrons. We have content for people who are interested in family history, local history, specific subjects such as ranching, homesteading, construction of cities and towns, and lots more. Let's consider a specific example. Someone walks into your facility and says they want to find information on a relative, but they don't even know where to start. On our site, we have a ton of material that can help in this realm. We have yearbooks from all over the state. We have military enlistment records. We even have prison records. We have dozens of local microhistories focused on a town or county. We have imagery and oral histories. For people who are new to the topic of historical research, this will also introduce them to new organizations and methods of research that they can follow up with outside of your own organization. We like the name portal because that is what we want to be, a place where researchers can find a pathway to the content of other organizations. We also have an exciting feature that is somewhat underutilized right now, and that is the ability for people to provide additional information called recollections to an item, as well as tagging people in photos. If a registered user has additional information about the people in a photo, the location, or the circumstances, recollections and tagging will allow them to add this content to the item, of course, with moderation by history portal staff. So we hope that this will catch on and allow people to provide additional context to items. The other way we can benefit you is if you decide to become a contributor and upload content. By sharing collections to the Montana History Portal, you can reach a wide audience of people. We had nearly 140,000 users visit the site last year. We also promote your content through the programs I will talk about in a minute. One great way to approach becoming a contributor is to offload high-frequency, burdensome reference topics to us. Perhaps you have an old, out-of-copyright set of books that people are always checking out, that they're always waiting to check out, and which are becoming more and more damaged over time. We can help. If we can get these digitized and uploaded, you can just point people to our free website to use the content and hopefully save your staff some time going forward. When the content is on the history portal, sharing is easy. Just send people a link. Preservation of your collections is also an important part of what we do in two ways. First, as I mentioned, we retain high-res copies of all digitized content on our MSL archival servers. But second, by digitizing fragile historic material, you can reduce or even eliminate the number of times that material is physically handled, which will keep it safer for the long term. So we know that people all over the world are using the history portal, but how can you help someone who comes into your building or calls you? We have 200 collections on the site, and many of them are very important to people doing specific types of searches. So let's go over some of the most important and popular ones. As you see on this page, our livestock brand books are one of the most popular items on the site. There are over 60,000 pages of brand registrations dating back to 1873. This collection is of great use to people interested in ranching, but these books also contain the names of thousands of people who helped build Montana, and thus can be of great use to genealogical researchers. You can see here that we have old handwritten 19th century editions, as well as computer printed 21st century versions. We have 2,400 yearbooks from all over the state, which are organized by school and are often fully searchable. We have editions dating back to the beginning of the 20th century, and also more modern ones, which include great 1980s hair. Now, just a word of caution on searching yearbooks. If you guide researchers to use these, please keep in mind that the OCR, which is the character scanning that makes the book searchable, can be inconsistent. So if a researcher puts a name in a search and it does not turn up, it is worth opening a few of the appropriate books and scrolling through the relevant pages to ensure the person is not actually in there. We have hundreds of digitized books on topics ranging from local histories to biographies to cookbooks. We also have directories and ledgers, which can be useful for genealogical research. We have a whole section of research guides on the site, which includes a listing of the books people can read. Another popular collection we have are the 10,000 prison records from various institutions, which usually include a mugshot and useful genealogical information. We have military enlistments from the Spanish-American War through World War II. We have hundreds of oral histories and audio recordings. These include informal recordings and interviews, as well as highly produced episodes of radio programs like Home Grounds. We have documents of just about any format and style you can imagine. There are newsletters and magazines, like the Arrowhead from Anaconda Copper Mining Company. We have handwritten letters and diaries. We have government reports and correspondence, and newsletters from Yellowstone and Glacier. We have state and local documents, like this plat from Butte. And of course, don't forget the 40,000 images covering just about any topic you can imagine. We have images from famed Western photographers like F.J. Haynes and Evelyn Cameron. We have personal photos from ranchers and homesteaders. We have imagery of military units training for World War II. We have images documenting the transformation of small settlements into the towns and cities you see today. And we have lots more. All in all, the photos on the Montana History Portal are an amazing collection of imagery, all the more so because it is made up of material from so many institutions around the state. So we have 84,000 items, and often the first method people will use to look around on the site is usually the global search, which you can see here on the screen. I don't want to get into too much detail here, as there are a lot of powerful options in our search engine, and we don't have enough time to cover them all. But it's important to know that our search doesn't behave quite the way that Google search works. In this screenshot, you can see a couple of the available drop-down options available on our main search page. Under Search For, you will see a very important toggle for exact phrase match. If you want to search on a multi-word phrase, such as a name, it is important to use this toggle. Our search engine doesn't recognize quotes like Google might. You can see the other important drop-down here, Format, which allows you to filter the results by the type of item, photo, document, yearbook, etc. You can also filter by date. Once you have run your search, you'll get a bunch of results back. In my case, my search gave me 209 pages of results, which is way too much. But the good news is on the left of your search results, you'll see a filter by bar with a number of options below. You can filter by format, which is shown here. Again, this is documents, photos, books, etc. Below that are another other options, including date ranges, starts with, and a lot more. These options might seem like a lot, and there are too many to cover in today's short presentation, but the good news is that we have a couple of help guides on using the search function. If you click on Help, At the upper right of the Montana History Portal website, you'll find links to the 2 guides I have listed on the screen here. Let's switch gears a bit and talk about working as a contributing organization to the History Portal. We have nearly 100 partners around the state, so there's a good chance your organization is already working with us. But if not, never fear. We try to keep it as straightforward and painless as possible. We're a small team with just 2 full-time employees, so tracking us down is not difficult. There's myself and our director, Jennifer Burnell. If you have a collection that you think is worth digitizing and bringing on board, just reach out to us. Here's our main email inbox, which is a good way to get in touch. We can have a conversation about the collection you think might be a good candidate, what your plan is for prepping and digitizing it, and talk about funding options for digitization if you need to look into grants. And just a reminder, there are no costs to you for this process or the hosting by the History Portal, just digitization costs if you need to procure outside assistance. We'll discuss the metadata spreadsheet that you'll need to fill out with a line for each item in the collection. It looks intimidating, but it's actually fairly easy once you understand it. We'll discuss a timeline and put a plan together to get everything rolling. So after these initial conversations, if you decide you want to move forward, there's just 2 simple online application forms to fill out. Then you need to complete the digitization and the metadata spreadsheet, turn them over to us, and we'll take it from there. We'll send you a link to the completed online collection, and we'll start promoting it in a number of ways. Let's talk now about how we're going to promote that content. We do a lot of work to make sure that the collections we digitize are visible to the public. And not just the collections, but we also have an emphasis on highlighting the organizations that own those collections. Our website is free and open to all, and last year we had about 140,000 visitors to the site. We do a lot of work to make sure that we are highly placed in Google search results so that people can find your content. We run daily posts on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Last year, our Facebook reach was about 8 million people, so we're doing something right on that front. And we make sure to mention and tag the contributing organization in each of these Facebook posts. We've been building digital exhibits, which is a way to compile content from a variety of organizations into a cohesive hub or narrative page. We run contests, which are very popular with classrooms. I'll share some examples of that. And lastly, this year we've started deploying something called Adventure Lab, which is a way to get people out in the physical world where they can interact with our content virtually. I'll explain that in a bit. So I mentioned we've been building digital exhibits over the past year. Some of these exhibits are built by internal staff, some by partners at other institutions, and a bunch were built by teachers at a summer workshop last year. We currently have almost 40 of these available on the site, and they are unique as they compile items from multiple institutions into a single cohesive place. For example, we have a history of early schools in Montana that contains material from Montana Historical Society, University of Montana, Huntley Project Museum, Judith Basin County Free Library, and Lewistown Public Library. Some of these exhibits follow a narrative format, telling a story by using and interpreting historic photos or documents. Others serve as content hubs for materials from all over the state. A good example of a content hub is the exhibit we have for Yellowstone, which you can see here. This has content from 9 different institutions. It's a bit difficult to show a digital exhibit in a PowerPoint format on a Zoom, as they tend to be wide-ranging and lengthy. You can see a few items here at the bottom, which are a part of this content hub. But when you go to the website, you'll find over 2,000 Yellowstone items of varying formats on this hub. As I mentioned, our digital exhibits have been built by both internal staff and by external parties. This is another way you can contribute to the History Portal. An excerpt of a digital exhibit is shown here, called The Abstract Art of Artist Henry Malloy. It contains imagery of Malloy's paintings from the Montana Museum of Art and Culture at the University of Montana. All of the narrative text and selection of imagery was developed by a graduate student at the museum using her knowledge and passion for the topic. We also have another exhibit in the works by a volunteer from one of the museums we work with. If your organization has a collection of materials with a story to tell, we may be the place for you. We can work with you on developing the exhibit, and the good thing is that you don't have to need to worry about any of the technical technical details of that exhibit page. We'll take care of that for you. You just need to focus on getting the materials migrated to the history portal and writing up the narrative. Let's talk about this strange thing called Adventure Lab that I mentioned. Adventure Lab is a free mobile app, kind of like a game. People select an adventure to complete, which requires them to visit up to 10 physical locations within short walking distance. In our case, we are building adventure labs that use old photos and place people in the exact location that the photo was taken. Here's an example of that, our tour of the Capitol. You can see the little map in the upper right showing 8 locations around the building. A user will walk around the building until they reach each spot using the GPS on their phone. When they get there, they will be able to see what that spot looked like at some point in the past, along with interpretive text. In this example, you can see the Capitol as it appeared on Dedication Day in 1902 and compare it to how it looks today. In the past 120 years, huge wings have been built on the east and west sides. There are trees everywhere, and now there's parking in a driveway. You also get a sense of how desolate the surrounding area was in 1902, including the mostly treeless South Hills. We have launched 5 of these adventure labs around the state, with more planned for this summer. And each of these adventure labs has a companion digital exhibit on the website where we are using Google Street View to allow people who can't physically visit the locations to experience the changing landscape over time. Adventure Lab is another way your organization can contribute to the history portal. If you have a photo collection related to an interesting part of your town, we can talk about building an adventure lab. And in keeping with our goal to credit contributors for their collections, we have been diligent about crediting the organizations both within the Adventure Lab app and also on physical posters we are creating for each location. The last program I want to share with you is our contest program. Right now we run 2 contests, a historical picture prompt contest and a meme contest. Both are very popular. We had over 200 entries in the meme contest, which wrapped up last month. In both contests, people are asked to scour the website for an interesting photo. For the picture prompt, they will write a story. In this example, called Death Does Funny Things to Us, an imaginative person developed a sad and moving story about this woman and her heartache at the loss of a spouse. The meme contest can get pretty wild and crazy, and there are usually quite a few great entries, like the example here on screen. These 2 contests are open to anyone with prizes in defined age categories, and we think they are a great way to reach people who might not be as interested in history, particularly young children. And lastly, while it isn't really a program, I do want to share with you what we are doing on social media. We run daily posts on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Our Instagram and Twitter do fine, but it's our Facebook page that we really rely on to get the word out. We have 26,000 followers, and while you can never predict how any specific post is going to do, we quite frequently have posts go viral. This post, for example, wasn't anything special. It's just a really nice photo from Mansfield Library. But thanks to viral sharing by our followers, it reached 370,000 people. And you can see in the text of the post that we tagged the library's Facebook page. So we hope that posts like this bring visibility not only to the images and items and content that we share, but to the organizations that contributed. Now, all of this that I've gone over today might seem like a lot, but the good news is that, as I mentioned earlier, we have help guides to assist. You don't need to try to remember the names of the guides and what they cover. They are all linked on our website. There is a help button at the top right of the website that will take you to a variety of guides. There is also a link to become a contributor in that same upper right menu under Get Involved. These guides are useful for both researchers and contributing institutions. The guides cover things like building personal collection, advanced searching, how to prepare content as a contributor, digitization guidelines and metadata guidelines, and more. So if you get stuck, just follow that help button at upper right on the website, or check out Becoming a Contributor under Get Involved. Now that's all I have for today, so we'll open it up if there are any questions.
Thanks so much, Dave. Melissa or Nikki, if you have any questions, please unmute and ask those. If not, no pressure.
I'm so sorry I'm late.
Oh, no worries, Nikki.
my internet wasn't working very good this morning. We had to turn it off and turn it back on.
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
It's planes. It happens a lot. Where do we go to find this? I missed where we go to find it.
It is mtmemory.org. But if you type in Montana History Portal in Google, it'll show up right at the top as well.
Super cool. I'm gonna really get this out to everybody. I think people are gonna really like it.
Great. Thank you for that. Yeah, that's a good point. We should have actually put the URL somewhere in here.
I'm adding the links to the chat here momentarily.
Great.
The Adventure Lab thing is extra cool. I love it so much.
Yeah, I'm actually driving to Lewistown for a board meeting tomorrow, and I've got one that we're gonna deploy there this week. So that'll be our 6th, and we're gonna be doing Kalispell next.
Cool.
And Dave, is there one or more in Missoula also?
Yes, there's a campus tour. It will take you around campus to look at buildings as they looked as long as 100+ years ago. What's interesting about that one is when the campus was built, there wasn't a tree to be seen anywhere. It was just a big field. So sometimes you have difficulty actually seeing the same views because everything's blocked by trees now.
Hey, Colette, you're muted.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, being able to do those comparisons, the photos, especially in the history portal, allow you to really see those things in some pretty cool ways.
Yeah, and we have an Adventure Lab page on the site. If you go to exhibits, click on exhibits, and then go to Adventure Lab, you'll see the ones that we've already launched. And the good thing is with each photo, we have a Google Street View right next to it. So obviously nobody has time to go to all these places at once, but you can go to that Adventure Lab page and see all of these comparisons from your computer.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Well, I just wanted to, since we're coming up at the bottom of the hour, just remind everyone that we'll have a recording from this session posted very soon, probably later this afternoon. You can always reach out to us to learn more or to find out how you can be a contributor to the Montana History Portal. I think that's a really powerful opportunity. I put a link to the evaluation in our chat as well. And I just, I'm going to put mmp at mt.gov as the contact information too, so that you can get back in touch with Dave and with Jennifer Burnell. If you're thinking about collections that you might have, go look through your basement or your attic in your library, or even think about unique individuals that are in your, that are in your community who may have information that would make an incredible collection or a contribution to the Montana History Portal. It's something that I use when I do my own personal genealogical research, and so can't recommend this enough. So thank you so much, Dave, for preparing this, and for those who joined us today, we're excited to be able to share this really incredible resource and service of the State Library.
Thank you, everyone.